Hi everybody, day 2 of the Exponential Conference, and today finished up talking about courageous generosity, and each of us had to come up with a 90-second pitch, if you will, that would convince that would share with someone a particular problem, what the solution was, and why it was urgent for this person to be engaged in this particular ministry or project, if you will. And in the hopes of getting them engaged in funding the mission. It was a pretty good exercise with a lot of us in the room. It took most of the morning, but heard some great examples of people who obviously had put a lot of thought into their project, their mission, their church plant, many of them, and had very specific reasons why, and that was very helpful to me as a pastor to see how other people, other pastors, other missionaries, if you will, have that passion for those who don't yet know Jesus. Then after that began the regular part of the conference, the actual Exponential Conference, and one of the first speakers we heard was Francis Chan, a very dynamic, engaging individual, and the whole theme of Exponential this year is discipleship. And so we began by looking at our own discipleship. There we go. And how each of us really needs to look inside and do some hard looking at ourselves and our habits, our processes, our daily living, to see if we indeed are living as God would like us to. That is, engaged in His Word daily, walking the walk, as it were, doing those things that God expects of one who loves Him and follows Him, and not from a work standpoint by any means, but in terms of our salvation, but rather as an outpouring of the great gift of grace that we've been given. And then in the afternoon sessions, Susan and I went to one which was talking about husband and wife, pastor and spouse, and how that relationship is so key, and having that healthy relationship is so key to any pastor, but especially church planters and those who are engaging in a new mission, to cultivate that relationship and make sure that it's strong. And that always has to start in God's Word, and with prayer as well, and not just going through the motions of church and being totally engaged solely in church, but bringing God into the relationship between the two of us. After that, I got to go to a session with Ed Stetzer, who's one of the preeminent experts right now, you might say, on church planning, and he's got a PhD, in fact, in church plants, and which ones, his study was about which methods are more effective. And one key learning from that was that church plants that succeed and win more new believers and have more folks come to the knowledge of Christ are those which are regularly engaged in God's Word. Pretty straightforward there. Those that don't emphasize daily study in God's Word, and in which the pastors themselves aren't engaged in that, are about half as engaging in the community. Other things seem to be equal in terms of satisfaction indexes and things of that nature, if I recall what he said correctly. But the big difference was overall numbers of people reached. If your people are in the Word, that is going to spur them on to sharing the gospel with their friends and family. God's Word does not return empty and void, as he says, and that's just proof in the pudding. Tonight is going to be a quiet night for us. Hope to spend some time in some of the facilities here at the hotel, maybe enjoy a hot tub and just relaxing a little bit before another full day here at Exponential. So with all of that, looking forward to getting back to Olathe and to try to share the excitement that I've and Susan and I have gotten on this conference so far with all of you, but also just to come back and engage more people with the knowledge of Jesus. That's all for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.